Breaking news. Putin claims that despite severe sanctions, the Russian economy has fully recovered. On Monday, President Vladimir Putin said that the Russian economy has fully recovered after withstanding unprecedented external pressure. In general, we can now say that Russia's economic recovery has reached its final stage. We have withstood absolutely unprecedented external pressure, the sanctions onslaught of some ruling elites in the so-called Western Bloc, some ruling elites in certain countries, which we call unfriendly, Putin told the government at a meeting on the draft federal budget for 2024 to 2026. The president noted that it is crucial to lay the groundwork for further stable and long-term development after stating that Russia's GDP reached the level of 2021. Crimea and 4 portions of Ukraine's southeastern oblasts remain under Russia's illegal occupation. The remaining populations of these areas were subjected to yet another source of embarrassment on September 1–4 and September 8–10, 2023, local elections. In the occupied regions of Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia oblasts, Moscow ran its first election campaign. If developments on the front don't change, it won't be long before the elected members of the regional legislatures appoint executive bodies in these territories and in Crimea. Russia's electoral system was relatively democratic in the 1990s and early 2000s. However, as autocratization under Vladimir Putin grew, elections were reimagined as a means for federal, regional, and local elites and communities to negotiate the distribution of resources with the central government. Furthermore, regional and local elections were the time when local elites demonstrated to the federal center their ability to get the best electoral results, ones that would serve well for the next presidential elections, in which Putin must achieve ever-growing, clear, popular support. The Ukrainian civilians still living in the areas annexed by the Russian army find themselves in this predicament. The elections teach them how to function under an illegitimate Russian occupation. In the meantime, local elites are being schooled in the ways of the Russian patronage system. The outcomes of this kind of learning are unclear. It is extremely difficult to estimate voter turnout in the occupied territories of Ukraine. About a quarter of registered voters in Russia cast their ballots absentee via electronic device. However, this estimate was likely inflated in the occupied Ukrainian territories. Many polling places were forced to close during the extended voting days due to shelling or drone attacks. On the final voting day, September 10, electoral commissions were frequently seen leaving for safe havens. Those I spoke with who were still based in Berdyansk, Donetsk, Henichesk, and Luhansk all reported seeing deserted train stations. They also said that in the 10 days leading up to September 10, mobile electoral commissions visited neighborhoods to collect votes on the spot. Overall, the campaign showed 2 things about the United Russia Party, URP, the classic post-Soviet power party made up of central and local power elite groups and bureaucrats in 85 different regions and cities across Russia. First, it is still the most popular political organization, popular in a very specific authoritarian context. And second, Putin can still use this voting system to his advantage in the March 2024 presidential elections. However, it is important to note that candidates, whether from the URP or the other parties, who posed as the most ardent backers of Russia's war against Ukraine did not win in most regional elections across Russia. Regional electoral commissions, which operate illegally according to Ukrainian law, claim that the captured regions voted overwhelmingly for pro-war and anti-Ukrainian candidates like Denis Pushilin, Leonid Pasechnik, Yevgeny Belitsky, and Vladimir Saldo, the Kremlin-appointed temporary governors. Russian occupying authorities, not people living in war-torn communities in southeast Ukraine, define this outcome. Donetsk Oblast will have 90 deputies, Kherson Oblast will have 36 members, Luhansk Oblast will have 50 deputies, and Zaporizhia Oblast will have 40. By making this claim, the Kremlin hopes to maintain complete control over the 4 newly formed regional legislatures, or legislative assemblies. By the end of October, the regional governments will have been chosen by these assemblies. In other cases, election outcomes can be seen that do not correspond with the actual voting constituencies. The Russian media, for example, reports that the commissions claim that 72% of voters in the Luhansk Oblast, 68% of voters in the Zaporizhia Oblast, 65% of voters in the Kherson Oblast, and 76% of voters in the Donetsk Oblast participated in these elections. Since so many potential voters have abandoned these areas, these assertions cannot be true. According to my estimates, the combined remaining populations of these four oblasts are well under 30% of the 2021 population. This means that the elected members of the new regional legislatures cannot credibly claim to represent the will of a majority of voters. Election officials also declared the ERP victorious in all four regional legislatures. In the city of Kherson, for instance, the results were as follows. The United Russia Party, ERP, received 74.86% of the vote, resulting in 28 seats. The Communist Party of the Russian Federation received 10.56%, resulting in 4 seats. The Liberal Democratic Party of Russia received 8.27%, resulting in 3 seats. And the Just Russia, for Truth Party received 5.03%, resulting in 1 seat. The ERP was given 83% of the vote, 34 seats, in the Zaporizhia Oblast districts that were taken, while the CPRF received 5%, 2 seats. The Fair Russia Party was given 5.13%, 2 seats, and the LDPR was given 5.72%, 2 seats. The so-called winner of these elections has been chosen independently of the preferences of the general public. However, the direction in which the election results point is crucial. The ERP has taken control of 3 of the 4 regional legislatures, paving the way for future presidential elections and closer ties to the Ukrainian population still living in occupied territories. If the front line in southeast Ukraine does not shift, the same result will be delivered to the Kremlin in the March 2024 presidential elections by the local authorities, as they did in Crimea in the 2020 campaign. The latter states that Putin received 92% of the vote in Crimea, while his national average in Russia was 76%. The 2024 phony presidential elections will follow the pattern set by the local elections in the occupied parts of Ukraine. The outcomes will also be used to establish regional governments in the illegally occupied territories of Ukraine, which Moscow will then promote as legitimate authorities. The United States, the Group of Seven, G7, the United Nations, and the European Union all refused to recognize the results of these elections, and for good reason.